mean, this is not the first time we've had such evidence. All UN reports and expert reports for the past years, even before this attack on Tripoli, proved that there was a lot of engagement from UAE and other countries in supporting Haftar by these weapons. But what was really also damning yesterday, in particular after liberating Lutya, which was the high-tech equipment that we have seen and that was being used to really attack Tripoli and killing the civilians and all of this violence that we have been seeing recently.
You mentioned the damning evidence in the UAE supplying weapons to Khalifa Haftar's Libyan National Army. Of course, there is an arms embargo when it comes to the war in Libya, and the UN, among others, have said that actually it's the continued foreign involvement that makes the fighting so much worse. So how is the UAE supporting Khalifa Haftar different to Turkey, for example, giving support to the government of national accord?
Well, actually, I mean, when the arms embargo was applied, it was meant to assure stability for Libya and also to stop any individuals or groups or outlaws to smuggle weapons. It doesn't make any sense that a legitimate government that was actually announced and supported by a number of UN resolutions within the Security Council, when it comes to defend itself against an aggression and an attack, it's being accused of supporting itself and bringing in weapons to defend itself. We have been attacked for more than 10 months continuously with no one supporting us or trying to provide any kind of support necessary to overcome this. But in the end, there's a big difference between a legitimate government that is defending its people and defending the sovereignty of the country and an outlaw, militia, and war criminal who's trying just to have a coup over this government.
Well, there have been advances for the UN-recognized government, seized the towns of TG and Badr, and just on Monday, also the Al-Wati airbase. We had a comment on that on Twitter from Anwar Gargash, who's the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs of the UAE. He says, these are mirages of victory and no substitute for a political process. Do you exclude any kind of political solution between the UN-recognized government and the Khalifa Haftar for a potential peaceful future in Libya?
Well, we made it very clear. I mean, we have been spending a lot of, or invested a lot of time in trying to reach this political settlement with Haftar for the past 4 years. We went all around the capitals. We were accused by our own people of giving so much time until he reached the outskirts of Tripoli. So we did everything we can. But after this bloodshed and after all of these violations, we have made it very clear that we will not sit on one table with Haftar anymore. The east of Libya should not be reduced to one person, but we are opening our hands to our fellows and brothers in the east and others to discuss the future of Libya. We are still welcoming political efforts by the United Nations and other sincere efforts from other countries, but with those who really believe in democracy and for a civil state.
The United Nations seems to be losing hope if Stephanie Williams, the acting UN Special Representative for Libya, who, again, we heard in that report a little earlier, what she said today. I mean, yes, she did use a tougher tone with Khalifa Haftar's forces, but she said that Libya is at a turning point and that the war is only going to intensify and deepen. I mean, do you see any solution that isn't an intensification and deepening of the war if the political solution, as you say, is effectively untenable?
Well, as I mentioned today in my briefing, the real problem that we're facing today is the external intervention, and this has been for the past 9 years. And all these resolutions that came out from day one, and if we take the ones that were in concerning the GNA when it was first established, none of it has been implemented to hold accountable those spoilers and those who are trying to undermine all of these processes. So, to be honest, we are looking with, being careful and cautious on how the international community will respond. But we also saw a lot of double standard in the ways that they're dealing with the Libyan issue. You can see the statements are just empty statements, equalizing, the defender with the aggressor, not naming and shaming. Maybe only these past days, things changed a bit in the language. We saw some countries shift from their positions. Of course, we have to, and the fact is that the change on the ground gave this kind of new momentum. But we still assure all Libyans that we are looking for a peaceful solution. We look for a reconciliation, but with the right people who are willing to really build the future of Libya together, and not for one person to assign himself the dictator and tyrant of Libya.